Alright, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you're joining us from. So we are back with some more racing with Division 1 at Spa-Francorchamps. Fairly a dry weather here set for qualifying. So before I get full throttle with the commentary, let me quickly do an audio check. Yeah, I think I can hear myself, so that should be fine. While if there's anybody who's joined us, can also give me a thumbs up in the comms, that'll be nice. Meanwhile, so we do have a few drivers who've already retired. I think a few drivers serving VFix and Vyom. Unlikely of them retiring, probably serving their qualifying bans. And Azun, as always, we see him retiring. As I have all my controls set to, as well as Racing Gupta is on a set of mediums, who's probably just has a bit of a twitchy moment there, has a slow car ahead of him at the moment, so I think he should be the first person crossing the line, and yeah, evidently so gets set a purple second sector. So let's see what kind of time he puts in on those medium set of tires. Getting a tad bit of slipstream from the car in front. Hopefully, yeah, that isn't an impediment by any means, as he now negotiates the final bus stop chicane. A heavy braking zone here on the start. Just has a bit of moment and goes full throttle. He sets a 1:44.4. Pretty much a decent banker time here on the set of medium, so he'll definitely look to improve as PSI Legends beats him and goes with a 1:43.2 straight on those set of softs. So should be looking to see a lot of times being beaten there, as Quick Killer probably might have had a moment on his lap where he might not have the best of lap times from him. Not really reflective of his face, as the other Alpha Tauri is now coming in of I Am Rahul, negotiating the final couple of corners. He needs to be very careful on the throttle and is fairly pretty smooth on the throttle and puts himself in the front row provisionally. So that's a good lap, as there's a Red Bull coming through, is it? Oh, it just started a lap, that is. Smith is also a lot of drivers going on a set of mediums on their run, as Nushan has invalidated his lap. Sig Venkatesh is also reserving for us tonight from Division 2. Had a decent bit of race yesterday in the Division 2 race. He would be looking to make some more marks. Mayank is right now, as there's a McLaren that is, I think, also on a hot lap. It's just yet to begin the lap. Caesar is now finally negotiating those final corners. He really probably has his hands rusty on the controller as well as on the game, but still goes professional pole. So those words really didn't mean a lot as they came out of my mouth, as Caesar has really set in a competitive lap time here. So let's see how that lap time gets beaten or gets shaken up, as I'm Rahul would be coming back into the pits. I think Mayank should be the next person crossing, as he's now coming towards the end of the middle sector, a technical section of the track, as now he goes full throttle. Oh, decides to lift off a bit on that. That handler probably didn't have the line he really wanted to have there. Now as he comes in on those set of softs, let's see what can he do in his Red Bull. Oh, as he heads back into the pits, so not really happy with his time, as Stewart probably is seeing that time, putting himself right on pole in his first hot lap. So we might just be able to get a glimpse of Caesar domination. as Ethan is now negotiating the final couple of corners on his set of swords, so expect him to be there up on in the top 5 as he takes provisional pole from Caesar. So those are some great lap times set in by these drivers. So let's see how much more tense they have. The track is fairly evolved in already, but there's still a lot of time to find for these drivers as they come in their final probably run. We still have about 9 minutes of qualifying left, 10 minutes or so. So we can expect a few drivers to make it in double runs as well, as Jin is also going on his medium set of tires, and there's another car ahead of him which PSI does move out of the way as Jin sets up purple sector 1. He still needs to set a lap time. I'm not sure if that's very true or in comparison to the other drivers, as Sid is also, there's a Mercedes that is crossing the line. Is that of Nukshan? And he has invalidated his lap. Let's see, who can we pick who's going to start a run? So Smith probably would be heading back into the pits now. As we are riding on board with Jin, so a purple sector 2 as well here for Jin again. So let's see, where does he start his car there on those medium sets against the other runners, as now he comes across the final couple of corners here again. Probably, I find it, in my opinion, I think that is the trickiest part of the track, getting the exit and getting a good exit out of that corner, as well as not squirreling your car, is probably the biggest challenge there, as Jin goes P6 on his set of medium. So let's see, is there any other driver who we can pick? Oh, there are sector 1 being set by, Hushrav is still hasn't come out, and he's coming out now. He's already put in a sector 1, so let's just go on board with him, as now he comes into the tricky downhill right-handed hairpin. Has a moment on his car, probably just there's going on those curves just a tad bit too much, as now he comes across to one, just a slight lift of the throttle, and then takes it fairly beautifully, as now he engages another technical part of the track. Takes the curve neat and clean there. Now coming towards the end of sector 2, as this is where he needs to plant his foot down and go full throttle. Takes probably just a slight bit raise on the throttle, but I don't think that should hurt him a lot in terms of the lap time that he's setting in, as he now comes to the bus stop chicane, fairly a full throttle. Sector 3 majorly is 70% is full throttle. This is the heavy braking zone here at the bus stop chicane, as he comes towards the finishing line and he goes pole. So a tenth and a half separating him and Ethan. So that's a great lap time set by Husav, and he would really be looking to leverage whatever he can out of the qualifying ban of VFix and Vyom, his rivals that are there at the back of, probably starting from the back of the grid, and we know it's not easy to make those overtakes here in Division 1, as much as Belgium as a track provides plenty of opportunities, especially at the Camel Straight, to overtake, but let's see how this battle unfolds. As fairly probably a recheck and recorrect period for all the drivers here, as Yash has gone on consecutive runs and is improved by a few hundredths there on his second run, so he would really be out of fuel, and hopefully doesn't have to do a very slow in lap, although he has a lot of time with him. Caesar is coming right behind Yash, so Yash should be able to move away from the racing line. Not yet, that is. Caesar now going on his second run. Let's see if he has a purple sector 1. No, he doesn't at the moment, but he still is improving on his time by a tenth or so. And he invalidates his lap, and he also loses his car. So that is the end of qualifying for Caesar. Meanwhile, which just seeing Caesar and Racing Gupta together has just reminded me of their historic incident a few seasons ago. So let's see. I'm not sure what the weather is like during the race, but if we are to see rain or mixed conditions, and if we are to see Racing Gupta and Caesar starting together close to each other, so let's hope they give us a not a repeat but a better clean show of what happened the other time. So fingers crossed there, as now most of the drivers in the pits, while Mayank is improving on his time by almost that is, by the time he comes to the end of sector 2, he's almost 6.5 tenths up on his time, which was almost just barely a tenth at the end of sector 1. So he really nailed the middle sector there. Let's see what, as now this is the other part that you really need to nail, the last corner or the bus stop chicane, as he does it fairly smoothly, just a little careful on the throttle, and sets up 143.4 and goes P7. Do we have anybody else on the pit? Chip hasn't set his time yet, and he still is on the medium set of tires. Nukshan has invalidated, and HPP also really needs to put in a good time here. Chip Schema, we do know him to be a really fast and competitive driver. He pumps in those good lap times and has that consistency to bring in some points in the race. Not sure how he's placed in the current drivers. I'll have a look at the drivers and we'll talk about it very soon, as now he comes towards the end of the middle sector. Just slightly misses the apex there, or probably a tad bit cautious on those medium set of tires. Somebody did put in a time, I'm not sure. HVP has put in a time, and he puts himself into P4, so that's a good time from him, and he would be hoping to start in the front part of the grid, as now Chip Schema comes across the final corner, plants his car full throttle as he goes P11. So strategic pole at the moment for Chips, and he would be eager to start on those mediums as well if he really holds on to that P11. Meanwhile, let's see, we have a lot of drivers on the outlaps. HCP might just go on recharging his battery, and if he has enough, not sure if he has that much of fuel, but probably that is qualifying over for him in case he has no fuel. Meanwhile, Ethan is not improving on his time, might have made a mistake, so he might be thinking to go again. Let's see. I am Rahul is on to start a lap, so is Smith. So all the drivers probably on an outlap, barring Chips and okay, Hushrav is also on his lap, so yeah, he is probably the one to cross the line first on the final. Hot laps of these drivers. And HCP has retired. Oh, that's in the pits because he doesn't have enough time to go back and go for another run. But P4 is a very respectable time, as Hushkav is improving by more than 3.5 tenths on his time. So let's see if Ethan, not a lot of improvement down in the first sector. Let's see what Ethan can do in the middle sector as Hushraf now comes to finish his final run. As Hushraf retains and improves by small about 6 tenths on his time, so that's a great time from him as Ethan is now to cross the line. Let's see what can he do. I just missed on what the kind of delta he is on his middle sector. Now as he crosses the line, improves on his time by a couple of tenths, but that's not enough to snatch pole from Hushraf. Who's going to cross the line? It's the Aston Martin, or yes, it is the Aston Martin. No, or is it the Alpha Tauri of Rahul? And he has had a spin in the final. He was up by a few tenths on his final run. That's qualifying over for him as now Jin comes in. Next person to probably cross the line. We have the Mercedes. Probably one of them might just be on a slow lap. A lot of cars coming along together behind Jin there as Jin now comes across the final corner. Where does he place himself? Goes P7. A good lap time from him. Oh, Yash Gosalia goes really wide and is in the pits. And is that the Mercedes of Nupshan, was it? And he's also back in the pits. So a lot of invalidations there for Lupshan. Hasn't been able to set a single time there as who's next to come across. Okay, Racing Gupta up by close to 4 tenths on his time. Let's see what he can nail the bus stop for the one final time for qualifying as he goes on throttle and he puts his car P5, just displaces HVP. We have the Aston Martin of PSI Legends coming back, and that should be Ethan also coming back to the pits. Yep, and that pretty much is qualifying over for Spa. And let's see what kind of weather conditions there are in the rain. By the looks of the time these guys have put, pretty much it looks like they are running a dry setup, so we probably are going to see a dry race. Alright, quickly now having this time, so we might just be able to just have a quick look of how things stand in the drivers and constructors. So Yash with some more support and with a P6, which is finally P8 as Hushraf is taking pole and is in a good advantage from his rivals there. Ethan following them. One of the rivals is still close behind. Caesar with his comeback race at P takes P3. PSI Legends with P4. Racing Gupta, HVP, Jin, Yash, Mayank and Sid Venkatesh rounding up the top 10, and the drivers with the free choice of tires. I'm Rahul, Chip Schema, Smith Shah, Quick Killer, Azun, VFix, Vyom and Noobshan. So those three retirees out of the last 4. Noobshan not able to set a time, but let's see what kind of inroads the Mercedes can make. They surely are having a decent constructors campaign. So as Hushraf and Ethan are the top front runners of the drivers championship, and they are also occupying the front row of the grid at the moment, and the Mercedes boys Azun and Noobshan closely following behind. So Mercedes have a big job to do to retain their lead in the constructors, as much as they have a considerable gap to the likes of Haas, of Hushraf and Basel tonight. And Basel missing this race, so that would be, as much as Hushra would be happy that the constructors is still the gap, they are starting from behind. So, but these drivers, there's a lot of skill in these drivers, and as we are now ready for the formation lap. Oops. Alrighty. So, two of the 10 of the 9 runners at the back of the grid starting on the soft tires, while the rest of them are on the medium, as we have a disqualification already. Oh, that's pretty strange. So both those drivers sent back to the grid would be starting the race on really cold tires. As probably the pit window here, if we see a dry race overall, is somewhere around lap 7 or lap 8, a good time to pit and get a fresh set of mediums there for the soft runners here. And while the medium runners can probably take their tires up to lap 13 and 14 and come back on those set of softs. So let's see what happens in this race. We did have a couple of safety cars in the Division 2 race yesterday. Let's see what kind of DNFs, retirements, overtakes and action this race has to offer for us, as we definitely can hope to see some kind of action between these championship rivals at the moment. 5 points separating them. So if Ethan has to win and Hushrav is to finish P2, so that difference might just be shaved off by, and would just be a point to separate the two. And we are also pretty much at the halfway part of the whole season. So yep, there's plenty in store, and let's see, as Azum is also not pretty far behind with 77 points, Hushrav on 86, Ethan on 81, and Upshan on 67. So VFix at the back of the grid hasn't had the best of the start to this campaign, or the first half of this season hasn't been great, as his formation lap hasn't been great as well. Just takes a bit of the curb on that fast left-hander and his car is just spun out. So probably that too much of wheel spin might just give him temperature for his tires for the start. So a tactical fault was it. Anyway, as all the cars are pretty much now lined up, as we are ready to get underway with the Belgian Grand Prix for Division 1, the Indian Racing League. As we have 3, 4, 5 lights. Lights out and away we go, and Hushrav has a decent start. Meanwhile, Ethan has even a better start. He's almost wheel to wheel with Hushrav, defending the middle of the track. Caesar has a great start. He's wheel to wheel with Ethan. There's a bit of mess behind, but the top 3 holding the positions there, as PSI Legends hasn't had the best of starts, and Racing Gupta has caught up to him, as all these drivers now approach Rouge, as Ethan is now almost side by side with Hushrav, as they now come at the end of Camel Straight, and Hushrav defending the middle of the track and keeping that lead retained, as all the drivers now cleanly negotiate the first sector. Not a lot of incidents, but I do see some kind of position swapping there, so probably drivers going wide here and there, as the two Ferraris coming together. HVP losing a lot of positions there in that process. Meanwhile, VFix is hot on Quick Killer, as all the drivers have fairly come out pretty good. I'm not sure about HPP though, if he has any kind of damage. He's being challenged by a lot of drivers from behind him, as and Vyom runs into the back of Mayank there, and I don't know, that surely looked like certain kind of damage, but we'll surely find out. This Mayank is not having the best of times, as there's a yellow flag for Sid Venkatesh, and he has lost his front wing, so definitely going back into the pits there, as Hushrav Now comes towards the closing of the first lap, which was fairly pretty smooth for all these drivers. And Mayank is Vyom on the inside of Mayank, is it? And Mayank not the best of bus stop. Chicane right for him there, and Vyom gets that position onto Mayank. There are a lot of positions being overtaken behind, as well as VFix is in the pits. So something happened to him, so hopefully that's just lap 1, 21 laps to go. He can get his head back in the race and hope for a few safety cars to help him out, as the Haas and the Alfa Romeo of Vyom and Shah go wheel to wheel, and Vyom has taken Shah probably at the exit of turn 1, as the Red Bull of Yash Kosalia and Chip Schema are side by side, and Yash on the inside brakes really late, and there's an incident between PSI Legends and Jin. I don't know if that was just letting them by, or I don't know what happened, but Yash makes a great move on those soft tires against Chip Schema, and Chip's knowing that he has a longer run to go, so willing to yield that position and not fighting as much as what do we have here? Quick Killer is hot on Shah at the moment now. Shah probably struggling a bit on those medium tires, and Quick and Shah going side by side on those tricky fast left and right handers, and he makes the move stick. So getting the advantage and the grip on those soft tires. Now Shah will be under threat from Mayank, who's also eager to make that position. Shah runs a bit wide, and gives Mayank the chance to make that move, and they are wheel to wheel as they come across bus stop chicane. Shah is not willing to yield yet, as now he has the inside, has to be mindful of the curve, and gives the position to Mayank in that process, as Chips and Vyom are now coming side by side. So Chips, as much as he had a brilliant start on those medium tires, I think from P12 he went up to P6. Now he has to give back to these fast drivers, and Vyom, I believe, who is coming from a qualifying ban, has one of the biggest winners, or the biggest winners in these first couple of laps, as there is a car that has gone wide of Yash Kosalia. He still has got his engine running, so that's good news for him. He can get his head back in the game, go for a fresh, better front wing, and probably on a set of hearts towards the end of the race, as Vyom and Chip Schema are still fighting. They're almost side by side. Vyom on the better tires, challenging Chips in the Red Bull. This is a great fight to see. All these drivers, there's pretty much a DRS train if you see, right from P1 to P11. Hard to follow who to follow. It's the difficult choice for me to make right now, but this is something that I'm going to stick on to right now, as Vyom almost kisses the rails of Chip Schema, and now goes at the exit of, goes on the inside. Now that gets a better exit down through Puan and makes that move stick. So brilliant racing from Vyom, who's on a charge right now, and he's just bullying his way through the field on those set of softs. Now 1.4 seconds for him to catch up, as drivers now settling into their rhythm, getting into their rhythms, and probably trying to pull one or the other away from their DRS, as Hushrav and Ethan also are maintaining those positions, and Caesar sticking hard on the DRS, as Ethan sets the fastest lap, is very eager to get within the DRS of Hushrav. Let's see what happens, as down the exit of turn 1, Hushrav gets a better exit. A few hundreds behind is Ethan, and Ethan will not get the DRS, while Caesar might just get the DRS, probably a few car lengths behind to make that move on to Ethan. But he might just be conserving his battery and just making use of DRS to pull close to Ethan and maybe charge up for a few moves later on, as that's Yash in the pits, VFix in the hard tires, definitely wanting to go to the end of the race, as HVP and Smith are exchanging positions at the end of the Camel Straight. Smith makes the move on HVP, but HVP wants to come back at him. Smith goes a bit wide. HVP with that fresher set of with a better set of tires, but has to give that position, and now he's under threat from Rahul, who takes pure advantage of that position and places his car beautifully there. right place at the right time, and that's a position gain for him. As Quick Killer is now hot on chip schema. Yet again, these drivers also rivals from another league, so they are just continuing their rivalry here and giving us a great show. Let's see what happens as those mediums go against those soft tires. Quick Killer getting a bit of understeer in the dirty air behind chip schema, but that's not stopping him from trying to get this position, as Vyo has already caught up within a lap into PSI Legends, and he would be really eager to make a move, probably at bus stop itself at the exit before turn 1, but as there is a yellow flag and there's a car, Alfa Romeo of Racing Gupta, that has spun around, and I don't think he also has a wing, so that's one full lap for him to go without a front wing. So that's a lot of time loss for him. Hopefully he can get himself back, as Vyom is hot on the Aston Martin of PSI Legends. It takes a bit of too much of work, but is now under threat from Chip Schema, who has had a brilliant run of corners down routes, and they are going 3 wide, and hopefully not an incident. And the Alpha, is it PSI Legends? No, Vyom does make the move stick, and PSI Legends still lives to fight another day from the drivers behind him, because that was pretty much drivers really willing to gobble up positions as much as they can here. As Mayank gets a time penalty, and I thought that was the first time penalty, but that probably isn't. As the race, we're 5 laps in, and this race doesn't seem to settle down. And these drivers, especially in the midfield, Hushraf still has been able to build that gap from Ethan, so he doesn't have the threat of DRS, as there's a yellow flag for I am Rahul, I think that is. Yes, he has lost a lot of positions there, so he probably needs to get back up into the race, as Ethan would be under attack from Caesar here. As Quick Killer is also pretty close to Chip Schema, but they might just still hold on to their positions until the next DRS straights. As here, coming back to the battle for the lead, all for the podium positions right now, and Caesar is about 7.5 tenths behind Ethan, will get the DRS. Would he look to make that move on Ethan? Let's find out. As he is closing in, I'm not sure if he's using his battery. He isn't, because he isn't closing that bit, and he decides to hold back and still try to follow him as much as he can for the few more laps. As now we also come close to the pit window, and the pit window might just be open for these drivers either this lap or probably the next, as Quick Killer hasn't also been able to make the move on Chips, and PSI Legends are following Vyom back. So Vyom, having given that push on his soft tires right from probably P18 or P19, he has really gained a lot of positions and probably has had a lot of wear. And there is a yellow flag for the Alfa Romeo, is it? Was it? I don't know. I'm not able to get to. Oh, and there's a safety car, virtual safety car. So, who was it? Why am I not able to find the car? Oh, that was Racing Gupta. So that is the reason why I'm not able to find the car, because Racing Gupta not just lost his bit of wing, but he lost his whole car there. So that's the end of Racing Gupta's race, as all the soft runners would look to make the most out of this safety car and virtual safety car. That definitely needs a faster pit stop for all these drivers, so there won't be a lot of time lost for them against those medium runners of Chip Schema and Shah, who now have taken the lead, as DRS has now been disabled. So now these drivers are just going to join in a train, and this is a train of medium tires. Some worn medium tires, some fresh medium tires. So Ethan, having Nubshan in between him and Caesar might just help him, and having Smith between Husrav and Ethan might just help. And is that Smith going for a move on Husrav? Yes, he did try to go for a move, but he decides to hold back. And Husrav on those fresh set of mediums would probably getting his tires up to temperature now and would be is at the net lead of the race, and let's see how that pans out in due course of time, as we did not a lot of incidents but a few of them, drivers having their wings broken, some drivers having to drive recovery races, so but still nothing is lost, as Ethan is hot on Smith at the moment, really wanting to make that move. Let's now probably now that we have a breather here. Alright, that's Nubshan with a lot of gain of positions, and probably Vyom had picked, so he's back into P11 because of that. So all these medium runners gaining a lot of positions. I just got too late to have a change at those positions, as Sid gets another time penalty. 3-second time penalty there, as what do we have, as Ethan is really hot on the Williams of Smith, goes down the inside of turn 1. Smith doesn't want to come back at him, but now he's under threat by Nubshan, who has lost his car and has gotten a bit throttle greedy. He's still got his engine running, facing the wrong side, but now is able to get his car back safely on the track. The ghosting will help, but he was respectful of those drivers, trying to giving them the way. A lot of loss for Nubshan with a no front wing, and now a good lap round as Ethan. Smith caught back, and Smith has retired from the session. So that is, do we see a safety car? Yes, we do. Smith got back Ethan at the end of Camel Straight, but I think he just got a bit of oversteer there as he went on the throttle and just lost his car completely, as there is a safety car. And what do these medium runners do? That's pretty much strategy down the drain for these medium runners. Do they come onto a set of hards, or do they go on for a few more laps in the hopes of another safety car and maybe go down on a set of softs towards the end? Let's see, we're just about to find out, as this would definitely help VFix a lot, and he can probably come on a set of mediums and try to battle his way up front for the rest of the race, as HVP gets a drive-through penalty under the safety car. Hasn't been able to manage his delta there. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit of my breath and my throat back, as we have a safety car period, as Shah has decided to continue while Chips has gone for a set of hard tires. VFix in the pit for a set of mediums. I am Rahul is on a set of hard tires, probably still continuing. I'm not sure if he boxed or not. But now we just have Shah, who's on an older set. We have HVP and Azun on a set of softs. So that's more or less like 11 laps of racing on those softs. Would have to be really gentle on his tires, which he wasn't being at the moment, as I was seeing him taking that curve, dancing around that curve. Let's see how that works out for him, as HVP is on 3-lap-old softs, and there is still 11 laps of green flag racing to go, provided we don't have another safety car that might just shake things up for the good. probably. But let's see, as this track, as the drivers will now pretty much bunch up. Safety car would go on from for this for another lap probably if these drivers are not able to catch the pack. But that's good news for VFix. While all those drivers, there's one. I'm Rahul on a set of hard, so he'd be looking to get him as early as he can. While HVP and Azun on those softs is something to watch out for. What kind of moves or inroads can they make before their soft tires really dry out towards the end of the race. Chip Schema, a person to watch out for on those hard tires. He definitely has a lot of pace, and he did a really good first stint on those medium sets. So let's see how this works out for him. While all the other drivers are on fresh set of mediums, barring Shah, who would also be restarting the safety car by the end of this lap, and on those 9-lap olds. And so now it's going to be interesting to see what he does, as HVP and Azun both have gone in the pits. So yeah, probably I think that was their tire mandate that they were fulfilling. Probably started on a set of mediums. HVP I think was on softs, but yeah, better choice for HVP. He can at least be competitive right until the checkered flag, unlike what would have been the case had he been on those softs. But we just have one driver who's still on those new set of softs, which is Nupshan, while a couple of drivers on the hard tires and the rest of the pack on a set of mediums. So, well, Shah, we pretty much still has to make a stop, so that's Hushrav's pretty much the effective leader of the race. Ethan and Caesar, the top three, as we started the race. Let's see how the second half of this race goes out. Alright, safety car should be in this lap. Should have a message from race control, and there it is. Safety car in this lap, so Shah would be looking to back the pack up, and let's see where he decides to go. This is a circuit where you can really go very early, take your opponents by surprise. Let's see what kind of mood he has. Probably looks like he might just take it till the exit of bus stop, or would he go early? Let's see. And he has gone, and that's a few car lengths of distance between him, so he really needs to get a good exit down from here to leverage that great safety car exit, as all the other drivers behind are fairly being caught a bit napping. Hushrav also has a bit of breather from Ethan behind, as Shah has had a decent safety car restart on those old set of mediums that he's been running through the start of the race. So right now, as all the drivers have pretty much coming out neatly through that area. Shah is now coming up at the end of Kennel Straight, as VFix has made that move on I Am Rahul on those set of hards. Noobshan is also looking eager, and Rahul trying to come back, has the inside. Still they're going almost side by side, but the grip advantage on those mediums secures the position for VFX, who would be looking now to build inroads onto man. So that's a comeback second half that we need to look out for in VFX, as Noobshan would also be looking to make a move on I am Rahul, as Yash Kosalia also gets a time penalty. Meanwhile, going back, Shah has lost that position to Khusrav, who probably had a bit of moment there as we were specking. As there's a yellow flag, so that's the Noobshan has Noobshan has that? No, that's the Alpine. Oh, Caesar has had a moment on those medium tires. Oh, he was in a great position for the race, but now that comeback race needs a little bit more focus now as we come back here. Khusrav and Shara going really deep on that corner and losing another position to Ethan. Meanwhile, VFix has also made a move on Mayank in this, as this HVP is also in the pits. Okay, so let's see. And Vyom and Vyom, Shah and Jin going, settling themselves as they go down across the Rouge, as Shah is now suffering a lot on those medium tires and is under threat from Quick Killer, who would also gain that position, as Vyom and Jin go side by side, and Vyom makes that move on Jin, and now he's on a great place to set his sights not just on a podium finish but probably a victory. So that's a great comeback race from the back of the grid by Vyom so far. Let's see, what do we have in store? As Yash makes his move past Sid Venkatesh, was it? So Sid probably going a bit wide down there, as there is a yellow flag for the Mercedes of Noobshan on those soft tires at the exit of Puvan. So probably taking a bit too much of the curve of the inside. Not sure what happened there, but probably have his car intact, as VFix is really on mode charge and mode push right now as he makes a move on Shah now. Shah has now gone down from P1 to P8 on those old mediums, as now he has Chip Schema ahead of him on those hards. So again, VFix would be looking for a great, brilliant exit from here, as he's already side by side going down in the exit of turn 1, and he has made that move already, and there won't be any DRS, I believe, still for this lap yet, but I'm not sure. We'll just find out. Yes, there isn't any. No, there is. I think there is. No, there isn't. Anyway, Mayank also making a move on Shah, and meanwhile I am Rahul and Yash Kosalia going side by wheel to wheel, and I am Rahul makes that move on Yash. So great racing here on show, right from P1 to P10, 12, P14, or whatever you would like to proceed, as we have the punch fairly spacing out. Oh, I am Rahul, Yash Kosalia and Sid Venkatesh at the moment, and I am Rahul has lost his cars somewhere in that entanglement with Yash, Sid, and that's another safety car. So what's going to happen now? Are these drivers going to go on a set of softs to the end of the race? I surely think they would, but I would like to see different choices by these drivers and sticking on to mediums. Meanwhile, Khusrav decides to get into the pits, so does Ethan. Vyom has chosen to continue. He has that penalty. Jin as well, has he? VFix decides to continue, so that's a great choice from him. That's come back. Vyom and VFix, the two drivers with those quali bans, are now in the lead of the race at the moment. So PSI Legends has also decided to continue while the rest of the field decides to box, and Nupshan did just box for a fresh set of softs. I think he lost his wing as well. But this might just be a blessing in disguise for Caesar, HVP and Nupshan, who got detached from the grid. And also Shan, he is on a set of hard tires. Oh, I think the tire selection has probably, the strategy change has gone wrong there, as HVP and Shah having a moment there, as Shah letting Caesar by. Oh, that was actually Shah and Caesar, I beg your pardon. Shah has let Caesar by, so I think he's going to go back into the pits to fix his error and probably join back the grid. I'm not sure if he... Yeah, I think he would still be able to join the grid back again before the end of sector 2 of lap 15. So let's see. As now we have the top 3 on medium tires. Pretty much these tires have the life in them, and they can definitely go up to the end of the race. We'll have probably 7 laps of racing, so 14 to 15 laps of wear on those mediums. That's pretty much the life, racing tire life. As much as you can extend your stint, you'll be very slow, but lap 15 is until probably where you can manage your mediums without losing a lot of pace. And these drivers definitely have a lot of pace. Vyom, as we saw in the first half of the race, bullying his way, charging through the field, and VFix, despite a lap 1 incident, has been able to claw his place back up, with the likes of safety car coming in and helping him, and he sees himself in P2, while PSI Legends is in P3. Has had a mediocre or an overall a decent race so far. I'm not sure if I saw him placing his foot wrong anywhere, but he's also looking promising for that podium finish, as Hushraf, who had pole on the set of softs, and Ethan, who was P2 at the start of the race, on the set of softs. So these drivers would really be looking to claw their way up the field. So this would essentially mean Vyom to have a really good safety car restart. As much as he can catch the other drivers napping behind him, that'll be good for him over at least a few extra additional sectors, if I may say that, as Shah has come back to the pit to fix his tires now. He should be hopefully able to join the grid back, as we have 3 medium runners versus 13 soft runners. So expect to see a lot of positions being changed, and penalty situation also coming into picture. So 3 seconds of penalties for 4 drivers. Vyom also with that penalty, so that might just hurt him a bit, because if there's a train to be formed, he might just lose a lot of positions. But he would be hoping that drivers involve themselves in wheel to wheels and trying to gain positions, and that might just give time to these leaders here. Alright, so the race control has given us the message of safety car coming in this lap. So, oops, oh, I just saw a bit of lag from Vyom. Hopefully V6 doesn't feel the same. Let's see where does Guillaume go. I think he's really looking to go down to the end, or how will be. I'm eager to find out. Might just go. Ooh, that's a glitchy car of Rome ahead of V6. I don't know. I hope that's just for me and not for anybody else. But their geography is posing a bit of a challenge to the connection, but hopefully not a lot of damage. I think he would probably go at the exit of bus stop. Yes, and he has gone, and he has a 5/10 gap from V6, who has. Oh, and Hushrov really being super aggressive there to get that move on to PSI Legends, and PSI Legends, there's a bit of argy-bargy there between the two drivers, but Hushrov gets that position, which is critical for him against Ethan, who would be looking to make that position up on PSI Legends as quick as he can, as he has another Aston Martin following him. And pretty much the drivers there maintaining their 5/10 gap, as there's a Mercedes of a zone trying to challenge Sid Venkatesh there. We would have to hold back for some more time, as Shah and HVP. Did HVP have a moment there? I think he just probably took the curb a bit too much and lost his car just a bit, but thankfully he's got it back in control without any damage, and Ethan is the driver to look out for here. She's really hunting and now going wheel to wheel and getting the inside on PSI Legends, and makes that move stick, as PSI Legends probably yields the position to his teammate to her, and also has to yield the position to Quick Killer. So not the perfect swapping, not working out the way the teammates would have liked, but definitely the right car is ahead amongst the two, as Hushrov is now eager on V6, and they make contact. They're wheel to wheel going at the bus stop, and Hushrov has to cut the corner there. Lot of contact and shoving there between the two drivers now, which now Hushrov might just be exposed to Ethan at the moment, as there are certain positions being switched behind, as there are drivers going a bit wide, and probably Yash made a move on PSI Legends as well, so he also has that move done. So PSI Legends, the biggest of those losers in those medium tires, so he's already down to P9, probably being hunted down by the likes of Mayank, Caesar as well behind, as Caesar has already also made a move on Azun somewhere in that process, who was actually behind Sid Venkatesh a lap earlier. So Caesar would be eager to make whatever inroads he can and whatever positions he can gain. Meanwhile, Hushrov as well hot behind V6 on those fresh softs, which really feel electric in the first few laps, and now with lighter fuel loads as well, so they'll be able to extract whatever pace they can out of those tires, as V6 would be really looking to push hard and stick on to Vyom as much as he can, because DRS would be enabled by the end of this lap, and as much as we see a DRS train right from the start to the end of the grid, but let's see how that changes as we go towards the end of lap 17 of this Belgian Grand Prix, as the top three drivers within a couple of tenths of each other, and Hushrov goes down the inside. Vyom takes a wider line. V6 has to cut that corner in that process and gains that position on Vyom as well, and oh, that was very tricky tricky racing there by all these three drivers. So very tactical, and probably a lot of mind games going on behind all these drivers. As we see it, we know their rivalry. It's really cutthroat as we see them. But let's see what can V6 now having to take that lead, and now will not have DRS and will have to yield the position back to Vyom. He's been pushed wide, but VFix comes back, still retains on to P2. Oh, VFix and Hushrav have a moment, and VFix has retired from the session. Oh, super aggressive racing there between those three drivers. So definitely stewards are going to have a long night again, or probably a long week. We do give them a lot of time to go through all those reports, but I don't think that's going to call for a safety car anymore. But BFX would really be hot-headed at the moment and heading to the steward's room to complain about a lot of action on those last few laps. Might just questions thrown around here and there, but let's see. The brothers are now the Haas running in formation and leading the race against all the other constructors for a change, as much as we may not see that in real life. But let's have a look at it. Let's enjoy the show right now as Vyom on those medium set, followed by his brother Hushra on those fresh set of softs, and he's going down at turn 1 as there's a yellow flag and there's a Red Bull of Mayank that's lost his car at the exit of the bus stop chicane. And Quick Killer also probably having a few moments in the battles that we're having, as the top 6 have detached themselves from the rest of the grid, as now Ethan has also made a move on Vyom and would be eager to get on to Hushrav, as they now are almost side by side, but Ethan chooses to hold back for another lap and follow Hushrav down. And this is a race to watch out for, a 3-lap dash, who is saving their batteries and who is putting the charge through. So all these drivers would have to make their defense, as Sid Venkatesh is probably letting the drivers pass, or probably had a moment, doesn't want to really meddle with the Division 1 drivers, whatever points they can salvage. But he still is in point scoring position at the moment. But there is a yellow flag again, and that is Jin, who is out of the track, so not the best of exits out of Puon. Probably took the curve again a bit too much, and there's another driver. Do we see? No, do we not? Oh, that was yellow flag for Jin itself. Alright, Yash Kosalia is hot on chip schema now. So let's see how this unfolds down, probably at the end of Kemmel Straight, or meanwhile going back to the leaders. Meanwhile, the leaders have pulled away from the medium tires or the medium runner of Vyom, and he don't even have DRS, while Chip Schema would have some respite with the DRS of Vyom, and he would also be willing to make that move, since he also has a hungry Yash Kosalia behind him. PSI Legends has lost another position to Man, so probably losing his car at that exit, as Ethan is a second behind Hushra, and I have missed what happened here. He still has the DRS, so I don't know what happened between the two drivers. I missed that show, as Azun now makes a move on Caesar. It's almost side by side. Does Caesar think of coming back, trying to get a better exit down those left and right handers? No, he still has to follow suit, as Shah is under threat from Noobshan and HVP. Oh, a lot of battles to follow right now. Noobshan being the closest to Shah at this moment. As Jin gets another time penalty there. I'm going to hold on to this side so that I don't lose any of the action here, as Ethan is really catching on and he's really got his guard now. So he still has a tad bit of battery left with him, and so does Hushrav. I think they're pretty much on comparable battery levels there, as I can see from the dash. As Rahul has left the session, so he had DNF fairly early. But now Ethan would be really looking to set himself up, as Caesar goes down the inside, probably the outside or the inside, I'm not sure, at bus stop, and makes the move on Azun. but Azun will have the DRS probably, and HVP has retired from the session at the exit of the bus stop. Is it? Yes, it is, but I'm not going to leave that right now because Ethan is really hot on Hushraf. DRS wide open. The McLaren making inroads. Hushraf weaving left and right. That is multiple weaving there and defends the middle of the track, so that would definitely come under the scanner or the scrutiny of the stewards and other drivers as well. But Hushraf still lives to fight another day, as we now are in the second last lap of this race. The P1 and P2, the pole sitter and the one in the front row at P2 are still holding on to the lead, so a fairly smooth race for them, and this is the battle to watch out for. They're also the drivers in the Drivers' Championship, 5 points separating these two. Let's see what happens in these final 6 sectors, or probably 4 sectors left probably now. As do we have anything else going? So these drivers, Noobshan would be eager to make a move on Shah, while Azun would want to get Caesar, who is probably within that time penalty of Yash, and Chip Schema is hot on Vyom. So these are the battles to watch out for. Chip Schema would be setting his sight for a podium finish, as now Ethan gets his DRS wing open, chases his down to turn 1, decides to hold back to Hushraf, and now is within half a second of Hushraf at the detection zone, and now is 3.5 tenths. So it's definitely had a great exit, as Hushraf has a really bad moment and probably Ethan suffering at that, because of which, and Hushraf weaving again and coming in very close. Hushraf would want to make it difficult for him, but he has to yield that position. Ethan was carrying a lot of speed, but now it's down. Now in the final lap of the race, Ethan has taken the lead from and Chip Schema. Did he have a moment? But Yash and Vyom are going side by side, and Yash has somehow made that move on both Chips and Vyom, and he's in a podium position. That penalty might hurt him. How much, we'll find out. But that's definitely a great drive in the final stint of the race from Yash, as he looks to a podium finish. But Chip Schema now is pretty much the end of the race, as not a lot of overtaking spots left. Ethan, who has a little bit of moment down at the exit of that fast double right-hander. Both of them would be deploying their batteries thoroughly. Ethan has his light flashing already, so I think he's out of battery for the rest of the lap, and now they're going side by side. Hushraf breaks very late, goes down the inside. Ethan gets the switch back, and is it a photo finish? And Ethan wins the Belgian Grand Prix by a 1,000th of a second. What great racing, and despite not having the battery, Ethan makes a great switch back on Hushraf, and Chip Schema takes the podium, rounds up the podium position. Not sure if he made that on track, but it looks like he didn't, because I see the AI of Yash ahead of him. So he definitely gets a good P3. Vyom with a P4. Caesar coming back, the safety car helping him, and getting a good P5 on his comeback race. Meanwhile, the Mercedes have also driven a great comeback and scoring good points there and securing their constructors, and probably increasing that gap, or very much maintaining that gap if Hushraf is taking majority of the points for Haas. But that is great racing, and that was a great last lap show that we had, and that was some fun sight to see, as much as questionable as it may be, but that's something for the stewards and not for us spectators. So we really loved that show. Ethan winning the race by a 1,000th of a second from Hushraf, also reducing the gap in those points. Chip Schema, a brilliant drive from him, from P12, takes home P3. Vyom with another mega comeback drive comes to finish P4 ahead of Caesar at P5. Noobshan and Azun, the Mercedes boys, getting in their points in P6 and P7. Yash Gosalia getting hurt by that 6 second time penalty, which sees him drop down to P8. Nonetheless, good points for him. Shah in P9. Jin, Mayank, and PSI legends rounding up the finishers, rounding up the points finish, while Quick Killer, who also finished the race, and Sid, as much as he probably retired in the last part of the race, and HVP there, probably, and the rest of DNFs, as that was really an interesting sight to see. As I should quickly invite the folks over to the party. Sorry, viewers, you might just have to get a pause while. Okay, hopefully. We see people joining through. Okay. All right, fantastic. We have all the podium sitters with us. Please ensure you have your audio sharing settings to always allow. As Chips Kima, can you hear us? Hi, Chips. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Hello.
All right, Chips, great race from you. Congratulations on that P3. You started on those mediums at probably P12, I think, and make your way up the field, but had to cede a few positions to faster soft runners. But take us to your race. How was the decision making in the course of those safety cars, and how much of a threat did you have, or how much were you sweating with all the drivers behind you chasing behind?
So, well, it was not a very good qualifying for me. I just got the one lap in at the end of the session, so it was a very bad qualifying. So it was P12. I decided to choose the mediums and just take it long. Unfortunately for me, there were a few safety cars, so which like ruined the possible strategy that I was thinking of. And I think one of the best calls I made in the race was to stay out on the first safety car and not pit at that point of time. Otherwise, I would have been stuck, I feel, in some traffic. But it was not a very good. I actually didn't have a very good setup, and I was really struggling on the straights. So on the hard tires, it was a very difficult time for me. But yeah, and right at the end on the softs, on the last lap, I had throughout the last few laps, I had really good battles with Vyom and Yash Gosalia. So well, props to them. And in the end, somehow I managed to do this, and I'm just grateful and thankful.
Great, great. You kept your nose clean, and I think that's a good drive from P12 to P3. Congratulations on that podium.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to P2. Hushrab. Hushrab, can you hear us?
Yes, boss. What's up?
Oh, Hushrab, great race. You gave us a great show. It was a lot of racing, lot of decision making, lot of defending. Take us through your race.
It was a real shame. I was on party chat with Ethan, and all through the race, I had, like you noticed, even before the final SC, I had so much pace. Ethan was not even closing my DRS window, and then passing all the medium guys again. Tons of questionable driving. I'm sure you've got that on stream, but nonetheless, in doing all that, I guess Ethan managed to stick with me, and at the end, he had a bit more ERS to play with because I was the one who was like making all the moves first, so I had to deploy my battery all the time. And yeah, it's a shame. Last corner, I wish I played it differently. I knew he would go for the cutback. I didn't slow down at the apex enough. But I mean, that's that's the beauty of it all. I mean, I'm laughing and smiling today because it was a fantastic battle and it was kept clean. So props to him. I mean, he's deserved it. I mean, even I'd argue that I was the faster driver today, but that's racing. Racing is the guy who crosses the line first, and today he did that. So fair
Yep,
enough
by
to
a
him. But yeah,
thousandth of a
fantastic.
second, that is.
Yeah, it was painful, but nonetheless, it's a good finish. Again, more points, and yeah, hopefully this stays up the rest of the season.
Yep, congratulations on that P2 on a great show. As much as questionable driving, we'll leave that to the
Yeah,
stewards. But you
exactly.
guys gave us a great show, so that was really fun to watch. And g- good luck for your second half of the season. We hope to see you more on these podiums.
Thank you, thank you.
Alrighty, coming to our race winner who pretty much kept it on point throughout, and as much as the front row runners have switched positions from qualifying, but that's just a thousandth of a second between them. Great driving from both these drivers. But Ethan, congratulations on that race win, and take us through your race. How did it work for you, and what was going through your mind?
Yeah, so it was quite an interesting race. I lacked pace at the start of the stint. The tires weren't on spot for me, and towards the end, the safety car made it more interesting. And me battling Hushra was finally something I wanted to do, and fighting for a race win, like definitely, it was like a good feeling. Yeah, nothing much to say. I was just pretty happy the safety car came out in the last stint. I managed to use the soft suits utmost advantage, and yeah, it's a really good clean battle with Vyom and Hushra.
Nice, nice. That's what we like to see. And now that drivers' championship gap has just come down to a point. I think I'm not sure if either of you got the fastest lap. If Ethan, you got the
No, I
fastest.
think Sid got
Yeah,
it at the end.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's just a 1 point separating you two. So really looking forward to your rivalry for the rest of the season as well, and hopefully you guys can continue giving us that show. So great congratulations to all of you podium sitters. I think that was a great show to watch. And thanks to all our viewers also who might have just joined us for the stream. And if you haven't seen the stream, just check it out later, and you will really, even if you want to, just you can probably go down almost every lap and see a lot of action. So, and we hope you do join us again next week for Monaco, the street circuit, and it's going to be another interesting race weekend. So until then, goodbye to all our viewers. We hope you have a good night and a happy weekend ahead.